viewers, today's topic is Music and Environment, the Songs of Tagore. So first, we will learn about the objectives of today's study. Firstly, we will learn about Tagore, the great poet, and his creation and the songs and his music, a general overview. Secondly, we will learn about envisioning Tagore's realizations of man's oneness with nature. Thirdly, we will learn about the role of Shantiniketan, Shilaidaho, and Shohjatpur, the places he has been, and how it has influenced his love and understanding of nature. And lastly, we will have a complete understanding of Tagore's songs on Prakriti from the Gita-bitan. So, Rabindranath Tagore, about Kavi Guru. Born in Calcutta, the son of Mahorshi Devendranath Thakur and Sharoda Devi, was born in 7th May 1861. And as we all know, he was a Bengali polymath who was a great poet, writer, a playwright, a composer, and also a social reformer and painter. He reshaped Bengali literature and music as well as Indian art with contextual modernism in the late 19th and 20th centuries. The author's profound and beautiful creation, Gitanjali, was awarded the Nobel Prize in 1913, and he also received the Knighthood Award, which he rejected due to the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. The Tagore's poetry did not only have a spiritual and mercurial feel, but they were also elegant and beautiful, which is largely unknown even in places other than Bengal. Tagore's oneness with nature. Rabindranath Tagore was born in a family with 14 siblings, but he still spent a lot of time alone. Though he was not lonely, he loved this solitude. And he was raised in an atmosphere where his siblings were very much understanding of the creative ideas he had, and that promoted and nurtured his unconventional thoughts and let him give free rein to his creative imaginations. He recalled as a child how the rows of coconut trees by the garden wall, with their branches beckoning the rising sun on the horizon, gave him a sense of companionship as if he was living in their world. When Rabindranath Tagore was 11 years old, there was an outbreak of plague in Kolkata, and therefore his family shifted to their garden home in Peneti. In his memoirs, Tagore refers to this time as beautiful, where he could see the glorious sunsets, the sunrises in the waterfront. And all this helped him be close to nature more and more. Over the years, as Tagore matured, he delved into the meaning of these simple delights of childhood and came to a spiritual understanding of nature and its beauty. The turning point in the life of Rabindranath Tagore came when he was asked by his father, Mahorshi Devendranath Thakur, to take care of their ancestral estates in Shilaidaho. It was in 1890s and Tagore was in a very bad situation. His father wanted him to be a barrister and had sent him to London, but that was very much unsuccessful. Rabindranath Tagore was very close to Kadambari Devi, who was the wife of his elder brother, Jatindranath Tagore. They played together in their childhood, and later in their adolescence, Kadambari Devi was a huge admirer of his literary works. But all of these made his patriarch father very uncomfortable. And therefore, Rabindranath Tagore was married off to Bhavatarini, a 10-year-old girl who was later came to be known as Mrinalini Devi. 6 months after Tagore's marriage to Mrinalini, Kadambari Devi committed suicide. And this was a blow the poet could never get over. So, when he went to Shilaidaho, staying on the banks of the river Podda, Tagore found the time to heal his soul. In the decade he spent in this Shilaidaho, Tagore was able to establish a communion with nature. The environment grew on him, and the rural society fascinated him. In his Nobel Prize acceptance speech at Stockholm in 1921, Tagore recalled how the stay at Shilaidaho had made him aware of the deep spiritual energy that is there in his nature and environment. He said, When I was about 25 years, I used to live in utmost seclusion in the solitude of an obscure Bengal village by the river Ganges in a boathouse. The wild ducks which came during the time of autumn from the Himalayan lakes were my only living companions, and in that solitude I seemed to have drunk in the open space like wine overflowing with sunshine, and the murmur of the river used to speak to me and tell me the secrets of nature. Realization of Jeevan-devata, the religion of man. Tagore realized that he was a part of a universal oneness. Recalling a day he spent in Shahjadpur in his riverine estate, he wrote that his views from the window captured on a wide canvas of nature, where the dark monsoon sky, the anchored boats bobbing up and down due to the tide, the loud cheer of the young boys playing in the waterfront. He felt intuitively that he was very much an intrinsic part of this experience. He felt a different sense of freedom. Although he was alone, he was not lonely because he could sense the presence of an eternal companion that lay within him, and he conversed with him incessantly. This was his realization of the Jeevan-devata, the God that dwelt within him, on which Tagore elaborated later on in 1930s in his lecture at Oxford University on the religion of man. Tagore and regional baul music. So as he was absorbing the beauty of nature and environment on his stay at Shilaidaho, Tagore felt for the first time the pulse of a rural society. To the Bengali city dwellers, also known as the Bhadralok, they considered the villagers to be unrefined, illiterate, and therefore they belonged to the lower strata of the society, or the Choto Lok. Tagore discovered there was a fine rhythm in this village life with simple human values on which he based many of his famous short stories on. He was also amazed to discover the community of itinerant rural singers, the Bauls, whose message of Moner Manush, or the man of the mind, was very much similar to his own thought of Jeevan-devata, or the Lord of Life. He spent a lot of time conversing with these Bauls, understanding their very much philosophy, and also hearing their songs. And as we know about Tagore, that he had been deeply influenced by these baul singers and their music and their concepts, and therefore a lot of his songs have this baul influence in them, which are known as Baul Angik Robindra Sangit or the Robindra Baul. Creative unity, man and nature. The hermitage in Kalidasa's epic Shakuntala was overshadowed by the king's palace in creating the ideal environment for nurturing one's soul. The forest ashrams were run by great teachers devoid of the book learning. There were neither schools nor monasteries in the modern sense of the word. This was the ideal behind Tagore's ashrama school in Shantiniketan, which was later known as the Vishwabharati University. His own unsuccess in going to the formal school and receiving formal education influenced him a lot about the environment of learning. He had found the structured school routine to be soul-killing, and he realized that the highest education is that which does not merely give us information but makes our life in harmony with all the existence. Establishing Shantiniketan, the Vishwabharati. All of Tagore's wisdom and learning was self-realized. He now sought to create an atmosphere he could take on the role of an unconventional teacher, allowing the students the freedom to explore their environment and discover themselves from that environment. They could walk bare feet in the dust and feel the dust on their feet and climb the trees to get the feel of the bark and the foliage. Shantiniketan seemed to be an ideal environment for students to imbibe the spirit of their surroundings, the nature and the environment. At a distance of 100 miles from Calcutta, Shantiniketan was a spot that was selected by his father, Maharishi Debendranath Tagore, several years ago. So now that we learned a lot about Rabindranath Tagore, it is time for some quiz. So the question is, What did Tagore call his concept of the Lord of Life? Your options are A. The Jeevan-devata, B. Jeevan Ishwar, C. Jeevan-devata, and D. Jeevan Bhagwan. And yes, you guessed it right. The correct answer is option C, Jeevan-devata. Now, moving on to the creation of songs, the influence of Shantiniketan. Rabindranath Tagore created his school around the only green life he found there in Shantiniketan, as Shantiniketan was very much barren land and the school was built in the cluster of tall shal trees and shady mango groves. This was the only green area in the whole of Shantiniketan. The open space in Shantiniketan could best appreciate the dramatic change of seasons. Tagore observed that sense of space, and it was deeply valued by the Japanese and Chinese painters. To open a school in such a pristine environment was a great gamble for Tagore. The wide horizons, the extreme weather conditions in Shantiniketan gave Tagore a greater feel for the nature. He would keep his windows wide open to glare at the midday sun in the extreme heat of summer and to the gusts of rain bearing winds during the monsoons. Each morning he wake up before the dawn so that the first rays of the sun would stream in through the open windows onto his face. His affinity with nature and the sense of connect with the life primordially found expression in some of his best nature songs he wrote at this point of time. The Prakriti Porjay, the songs of nature. Most of Tagore's Gitanjali songs were composed in Shantiniketan and spoke of a deep spiritual presence in nature's harmony amidst the diverse moods of the seasons. In these songs, Tagore sought to capture the self-obtained balance that he discovered in nature. The nature's self-sufficiency created a unity in this diversity. Tagore interacted with each season as a long-lost friend and welcomed the other by bidding farewell to the rest. A rough count of the songs in his Gitobitan in the section titled Prakriti or the Prakriti Porjay reveals that Tagore composed about 16 songs of summer, over 100 monsoonal songs, 33 of Sharad or the early autumn, 5 of Hemanto or the late autumn, and a dozen or so songs of winter, and 93 songs of the spring, divine bliss or Anandarup. Tagore's appreciation was not limited to the external beauty of color, fragrance, and form. In his understanding of nature, the environment sought to discover an underlying divine bliss or the Anandarup. One had to look beyond the dust or the water of the earth and regard them as manifestation of a divine presence, recognizing them as spiritual offerings and inspiration for an advanced consciousness. One of his finest expressions of this awareness and being connected with the cosmic creation was his song Akash Bhara Shudra Tara. The sun and the star-studded skies, a world throbbing with life, in the midst of which I have found my place, in wonder thus does my song arise. The turbulence of eternal time, the ebb and flow that rocks the world, have sent a tidal surge coursing through my bloodstream. In wonder thus does my song arise. The first season of Ritu Rango, the Grisho or the summer. In the arid inland Shantiniketan, with its red dusty roads and distant horizons, Tagore sensed acutely the dramatic changes that came between summer and winter. Summer came with its sizzling heat, and Tagore captured the mood of a long summer day, thus in his song Prokharo Tapono Tape. In the intense heat of sun, the earth shivers in deep thirst. The winds rage. I come to a temple and cry at the end of a long journey, open, open, open the doors. The song Daruno Ogni Banere also encompasses the sufferings of the overly heated summers of rural Bengal, the visions of sleepless nights and the long scorching days. The second season of Ritu Rango was Varsha or the rainy season. Varsha was perhaps the most favorite season of Tagore, and therefore he wrote more than 100 songs on this season. It drew a veil of rain over the mind and created a canopy of clouds so that the mind could not wander. Welcoming the rain as Shamol Sundar in his song Esho Shamolo Sundaro, the poet called out for its cooling, thirst-quenching nectar of companionship. The poet also dramatizes the excitement of all life forms that feel just before and after the coming of the monsoons in the opening two stanzas of the song Oi ashe oi oti bhoirabo horoshe. There they come, the monsoonal clouds, exhilarating, awesome, moisture-laden, fragrant, earth-soaked, dense, rejuvenated, dark-hued, somber, glorious, ready to burst. Tagore's immense love for Varsha, and indeed song after song of Gitobitan record how fascinated Rabindranath Tagore was with this melodic outburst and the dramatic monsoonal outburst. The song Prochando Gorjone Ashilo Eki Durdino talks about the dreadful and fearful monsoon. Such a dreadful day, so full of rolling, thundering clouds, disquieting cloud build-ups, ominous, endless outbursts. Such a thick cloud cover, serpentine lightning, scaring night, making the sky scream tears despite its totally blinded eyes. In fact, Rabindranath Tagore is acutely aware of how monsoon can disrupt lives, the lives of the people who are out in the open, the women, the men, who have to travel, and the thunder, lightning, the flash floods, and how this brings difficulties in the lives of the commoners. His concern for such vulnerable people and the concern at such intemperate weather comes out clearly in this particular song of Jhoro Jhoro Borishe Bari Dhara, where he says, the rain streams down incessantly, alas wayfarer, alas the disabled, alas the homeless. The wind moans on and on. Who is it calling out to in this immense, deserted, dismal landscape? The night is pitch and dark, Jamuna restless, its waves agitated, endless, its shores have disappeared. Dense dark clouds hover in the horizon, rumbling continuously. Lightning darts restlessly, dazzlingly, no moon or stars in the sight. The third season of Ritu Rango is the Sharad, or the early autumn. Sharad was one of the season of the golden sunshine, the blue skies, and the white clouds. The heaps of harshingar on the green dewy patches with white floating clouds influenced the poet greatly. The poet addressed an autumn day like, I know not your name, I know only your tune. You are the message of light, heralding Sharad's dawn. This beautiful and evocative description captures the essence of the very short season of Sharad, celebrated by the students of Shantiniketan as the Sharadotsav. The fourth season of Ritu Rango, or the late autumn, which is Hemonto. The season of Hemonto came with the star-spangled skies and the dewy nights. Winter was near. With the imagery of Diwali in the Festival of Lights, Tagore composed one of his most celebrated songs, Himero Rate Oi Gagoner Deepgulire. It was the season of empty flower gardens where the singing buds had become silent and the bulrushes poured their foliage into the river. But carrying the message of hope and revival, the myriad stars in the night sky seemed to inspire the earth's children to light their own lamps of Dipalika, conquering the despondency and darkness with life-sustaining illumination. Winter brought with it the golden sunshine and the promise of a rich harvest. The fifth season of the Ritu Rango, the Sheetkal or the winters. The poet talks about the winter wind that makes the dried leaves dance in the song Shiter Hawai Laglo Nachon. The winter wind has set a dance in the amloki bowers. The leaves with a tingle and thrill flutter down and fall to the beat. A fly-away frenzy springs in and leaves her bereft at last. Her bounty of fruit remain no longer hidden from the view. The sixth season of Ritu Rango is the Rituraj Boshanto or the spring. To complete the cycle of seasons in the collection of Tagore's nature songs was the Rituraj Boshanto or the spring. He also called it the king of seasons. Basant to Tagore was like a free wandering spirit which released the mind from its deep recess, making it float on a balmy breeze intoxicated by a heady floral fragrance and lulled to sleep in the moonshine. Unlike the solemn Varsha, it was flirtatious and frivolous. But it also came as the harbinger of hope and inspiration, as an affirmation of life after the long winter. The magic of spring was beautifully captured by Tagore in a song Ektuku Chhoa Lage. A light touch do I feel, a few words do I hear, and I conjure in my mind the spring's full moon. The intoxicated red of the polash, mixed with the damp of champa's heady fragrance, I weave with music into a net of color and fervor. The eternal presence, Nataraj in his Riturangoshala. Despite the apparent impermanence of the seasons, Tagore found in nature a continuous and ever-present spiritual presence, which was held in balance and harmony. In his communion with nature, Tagore felt the blessings of the divine revelation that made its presence felt in the dust, the green grass, the animate beings, and the celestial bodies in the skies. Tagore's magnificent song compositions on Nataraj, like Proloy Nachon Nachle Jokhon Apon Bhule He Nataraj, on the theme of mutability of human existence amidst the permanence of nature, was performed during the holy celebrations in Shantiniketan in 1927. Other songs included the Prothomo Adi Tavo Shakti, which all referred to the divine presence of Nataraj. Nataraj, or the Shiva, in his cosmic dance of the Tandava, created the external beauty of the universe with the strike of one foot, while with the stamp of the other, he caused the emotional landscape of the individual to be manifested. Since the concept of the eternal passage of time or Shamoy was the integral to Shiva or Nataraj, as also the seasons, Tagore later restructured his composition Nataraj and called it the Riturangoshala. Now it's time for another quiz. So can you tell me which song of these options of Tagore signify the season of spring? Your option A is, in the intense heat of sun, the earth shivers in deep thirst. Option B, there they come, the monsoonal clouds. Option C, such a dreadful day, so full of rolling, thundering clouds. And option D, a light touch do I feel, a few words do I hear. And the correct answer is option D, a light touch do I feel, a few words do I hear, which is the song of Tagore, Ektuku Chhoa Lage, Ektuku Kotha Shuni. To celebrate the environment, Tagore organized several festivals in Shantiniketan and composed songs especially for them. For example, the Bosonto Utsav, or the celebration for the spring, the Borsha Mongol to celebrate the monsoon season, the Sharad Utsav for celebrating the autumn, the Riturango for all the seasons. He also introduced the colorful festival of tree planting and called it the Briksharopan from a Bali dance tradition. The harvest was celebrated with Holakorshan when the agricultural fields were symbolically ploughed. The spring was celebrated in Shantiniketan with abandon on the day of the festival of Holi. The poet would usually begin the celebrations with his recitations, which would be followed by his celebrated songs like The Southern Gates Have Opened, Come, 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 My Spring, which is the song Aji Dokhino Duar Khola, or Today We Blend into Each Other's Colors, Aaj Shobar Ronge Rong Melate Hobe. The play of colors would follow using the dry red powder and sandalwood, and the festival of Bosonto Utsav would end on the full moon night with a feast of songs and dance celebrating the magic of spring. In the school's song Shantiniketan, students sang of their communion with nature, nurtured by the groves and protected by the embracing sky. To summarize, we learnt about Tagore's inspiration and how he felt one with nature. We also learned that how Shantiniketan, Shilaidaho and Shahjatpur and his stay in all these places nurtured the feeling of his oneness with nature and inspired him to write such beautiful songs of nature. We also learned that how the music and his songs which he composed helped him as he composed them while remaining in the lap of nature itself. Thank you.